Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and we're back again with another market discussion video. Today we're going to talk about the new printing facilities. If you caught one of Rudy's latest videos, he mentioned how they plan to make more printing facilities to print more Pokemon and Magic cards within about a year-ish. I think that's the estimated time frame. And in short, I think it's needed. Right now, the current climate, there's definitely more demand than supply. The demand is just outrageous. Like, you have grown men acting like vultures at Target, just waiting for product to hit the shelves so they can knock it into their cart. I see a lot of people posting pictures of like their local stores have product limitation, like you only get like 1 or 2 items per person because pretty much everything's getting wiped out at this point. So we are clearly at a point in time with unprecedented demand. I think a really good way to start this conversation is going back to 1999. One of my favorite stories to tell is back in 1999, there were so many Pokemon cards printed that certain sports sets didn't get a release. So like certain football sets, basketball, baseball, hockey, and golf for all those weirdos out there. Some of those sets just didn't get anything at all in 1999 because majority to all of the printers were full of Pokemon cards. Like they just could not keep up with demand in 1999. So therefore sports sets just didn't get a print that year because they were waiting in line behind Pokemon. Fast forward to today, we don't even have enough printers. Like, we got to go make new printers to keep up with demand in Pokemon. So it's clear that we have surpassed the 90s demand because we are just beyond any metric, any expectation at this point, to where like a lot of these stores are just barren, especially in like heavily populated areas. A lot of the stores just don't have any product at all to sell to people. So there is certainly a demand right now. And we could speculate, will that like slow down or dissipate, as things normalize, like long term with like vaccines and things like that. Perhaps it will, but as it stands, you definitely need more product right now. We're on one end of the spectrum where it's like, again, these people acting like vultures in a store, just trying to get that, just waiting for the product to hit the shelves. And we've experienced the other side of that as well back in the day. In 2016-17, you had saturation. You had too much product, way more product than demand. And now you don't have enough. So you want to try to find a balance in there. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. With these new printing facilities, I think they're needed, but the more important thing is you want to throttle that supply and demand. You want to sit somewhere here in the middle because it's a nice, happy medium for everybody. Because you don't want to go back to 2016-17. That was very boring. It was not exciting. Products was worthless. People weren't engaged in Modern. It just wasn't fun. And, today, a lot of people are excited, but they just can't get enough product. So you want it somewhere here in the middle. And the people that do that, who've been doing that since 1996, you guessed it, the people who created Pokemon, Japan. Japan has throttled that demand flawlessly, in my opinion. So Shiny V is probably the best example of that. Shiny V did exceptionally well. It did much better than like a standard set would. But what did the distributors do? They listened to businesses and they said, okay, you guys need this much product. You're getting this, X amount of sales greater than normal. So we're going to try to give you that incrementally. We're going to give you some product here and there to fulfill that demand. And we're not going to just blast you with like Shiny V like they did with Evolutions. Like they just hit you with like that Spirit Bomb with Evolutions, where here they're like, okay, we'll just give you a little bit. We're going to give you some Shiny V. And it worked out perfectly. It's like there's plenty of product for people to buy who want it, and it had a nice like equilibrium. Where if we go back to 2016 and 17, English was completely caught by surprise. Japan has their ear to the ground. They listen to their people. They listen to their businesses. They understand the product they're releasing. They understand the market. English is tone deaf. So they weren't prepared for Evolutions. When Evolutions came out of the gate, like nobody expected it to be that popular at Pokemon. Like they were just completely blindsided. So they could not fulfill orders the first couple weeks. A lot of people had to get their orders cut. They ran out of product. So what did they do in response? Just this typhoon of Evolutions, like this massive tsunami, this tidal wave of product that just completely saturated the market. And with Evolutions, it made sense because it's a very good set. It's very popular. But when you look at things like Sun and Moon, Guardians Rising, Burning Shadows was solid, but then the Mark of the Beast, Crimson Invasion, when Crimson Invasion hit and you're still pumping out Evolution's product, you get where I'm going. It really just destroyed demand. Like nobody was excited about collecting Modern at that point because there was no challenge. And you're about to get one of my old smpratisms. Saturation is the death of hobbies. And more specifically, Beanie Babies are energy cards. Back in the 90s, people falsely compared Pokemon to Beanie Babies. And the one thing they missed, not only the demand and the higher engagement, This stuff actually has a limitation where Beanie Babies didn't. You know, they just pumped and pumped and pumped and printed and printed and printed and produced and produced and produced as many Beanie Babies as they wanted. And that's what energy cards are. It's why energy cards don't have value outside of like maybe first edition, shadowless, again, something with rarity to it or some type of challenge. But, you know, energy cards in general, like these right here, there's a reason why when you're selling your bulk to stores that they don't accept energy cards, because they represent the death of all demand, the death of hobbies, which is saturation. And that's what you had in 2016-17. You had so much saturation that people just did not care. It was way more than the current demand, or the demand then. Now, fast forward to today, there is enough demand to bring that up. You know, the market has grown enough almost 4 to 5 years later, you know, to experience enough demand to like actually bring up Crimson Invasion somehow from the grave, you know, that it was born in. So yeah, that's what you're looking at basically, is like English is tone deaf when it comes to releasing product. And my worry with the new printing facilities is that English will basically go back to that. You know, I want them to try to find something here in the middle, because right now, I think they were also blindsided by how popular these sets were. I genuinely think they don't understand how much people like Shining Pokemon. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like Hidden Fates, like Shining Fates that's coming out. Like, how do they not understand? Like, when you put a Shining Pokemon in a set, it's just like Black Hawk Down. Like, it's mayhem. And I don't think they understand that. So they're not ready for it. You know, they're not as prepared. Look at the recent Shining Fate situation. You have like 4 waves of it. And you know what that really translates to is they're just desperately trying to keep up to the orders they have. You know, they can meet maybe 10% of orders at this point, you know, for the average person. So again, the printing facilities are needed for sure, but you know, you want to try to keep it there in the middle, and Japan has done that from the jump. They do it so well. I can sell my Japanese Crimson Invasion stuff. I sold out of it actually a while back because it's real easy to sell, because they don't bring it way down into the ground. You know, they understand, hey, Crimson Invasion, we're going to offer it to you and you can order as much as you need. And we're not going to just keep printing and printing and printing. Where with certain sets like Shiny V, they understand, hey, this one's bigger, it's more popular, so we're going to give you a little bit more of it. But again, we're going to keep that nice, healthy balance. And to dig a little deeper into that idea of like saturation is the death of hobbies. Because I'm sure there's still going to be cynical people who are like, oh yeah, well, you just want prices to increase. Absolutely not. You know, I want something in the middle. Like, so my favorite cards are like vending and cards that are worth like a fraction of, you know, these big ticket items. You want a nice mixture of cards. You do definitely want the high end, but you also want a nice range of like, you know, upper, middle, lower, like energy cards. You need all of it. You don't just want to have one thing. Where in 2017, that's what a lot of it was. It was just like, even the best cards were just caught in that tsunami, you know, from Pokemon. And you got to have incentive. I know it's a little philosophical, but we always go there. You got to have incentive at the end of the day to collect. If what happened in 2016-17 happened in 1999, and they were successfully able to just bring out product and make Charizard like a Beanie Baby, and just make the best cards like millions and millions of copies, you know, and to a point where there's just too much of them, the hobby wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't be here right now engaged. You know, you need that balance. You need that challenge, that healthy challenge to be engaged. That's a recipe for growth. It's a recipe for success. You got to have that challenge. If you don't, there's no incentive to do anything. You know, we wouldn't have cards past 1999 if we didn't have that good balance. You know, Pokemon wouldn't have survived the test of time like it did today. And again, the big reason why is because Japan, the creators of the franchise, are very much in tune with the market. It's why you have these just beautiful Japanese promos just go down the line. Mario Pikachu's been in the background since day one of my videos. Beautiful execution, just phenomenal. Phenomenal. They understand what collectors want. Go to Pokemon Center Japan right now and try to not buy something. Like, the concepts they come up with are primarily because they're in tune with like that collector spirit. Like, they understand what their market wants. They value their customers. Where the English side, it's just trying to make that money, which is fine. You know, that's definitely a big part of the equation. This is all a business at the end of the day. But it's better, ironically, you probably make more money and be better long term if you do pay attention to those trends. You do pay attention to like what people want, which sets are more popular, you know, which set is going to be the Shining Fates, which set is going to be another, you know, pooper like Emerging Powers or something like that. You know, that it's good to listen, because that's how you understand the market, and that's what Japan does. That's what I'm hoping will happen with this printing facilities. I'm not going to hold my breath, because the English side of the market has so much, it has such a different complexion. You know, the modern place we're in now, it's probably the last point to end with here. It's uncharted territory. You know, this whole flipping, scalping, whatever term we're using these days, it's uncharted. You had it a little bit here and there back in the day. If you go back to like my old videos where I tell people you don't want too many flippers because that's a lot of speculation. That's what creates bubbles. Actual bubbles is majority flippers. That's what you had with Beanie Babies. You had all these parents and weren't really looking at the data, and you know, outside that little book they got that just said, oh yeah, this is going to be an arbitrary price 10 years from now. Like, what kind of, the 90s were a crazy time. But like, people didn't really think like, hey, does this item actually have like 1,000, you know, produced, or 10,000? What's the numbers behind that? And you find out it's like hundreds of thousands, almost millions of these produced. So clearly you're not going to get that 10x return. That's the problem with English right now, is you have a lot of stonkers, a lot of people that just want that instant hype flip. And sometimes it works. You know, there's a lot of general demand that keeps that up, that, you know, keeps that ecosystem alive. Where Japan's a different complexion. Japan has a lot more opportunity right now because, again, they're aware of the market. CP6 versus Evolutions is case in point. Everyone's talking about Evolutions, but no one's talking about how CP6 is still ahead of Evolutions. Like, CP6 has been outselling Evolutions since day one, and it was cheaper at retail. Because why? It had a healthier equilibrium. It had a nice balance there. And sure, when you have sets with base Charizard, they're probably going to go up faster, like it did. But my point is, at the end of the day, is that we are in uncharted territory with modern English. This printing facility is more than needed, but I just hope they keep it in the middle somewhere, because we don't want to go back to 2016-17. That was all, it was a different type of bad. You know, today with not enough supply is another type of bad. We got to get it here somewhere in the middle where, you know, you can go to the store and get a good hit and maybe get some value out of that, get a bad hit, and that's okay, you know, but you want that balance where you have something that is enticing and encouraging, where you have an incentive. You don't want it to be zero, and you don't want it to be like impossible to find. You know, you want something in there in the middle for things like sets. So that's the aim. Japan's been doing it since day one. Hopefully English can figure that out. This new printing facility is a step in the right direction. It's more than needed, and I think everyone's on that same page. Everyone agrees with that because there's a lot of vultures at Target now. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is there a line like 20 deep of grown men like standing in the trading card aisle? And it's because they're just ready to get that whatever ETB so they can throw it up on eBay for stonks. So yeah, that's a lot in England. You don't have much of that in Japan, if at all. So again, it's just a different market, different situation, but I think these printing facilities will hopefully get us closer to that equilibrium that's definitely much needed. So there you go. As usual, guys, hopefully this was useful. I think it is a good step in the right direction, and yeah, I hope they can find a nice, healthy balance moving forward. You know the deal. Let me know how I feel. It's pretty much it. Till next time.